War Eagle Auburn family, welcome back to another edition of E2C Network Live, where we get together and we talk about what's going on in the world of the Auburn family spectrum. Always heavy on the sports here on this channel and everything that we do. But if it's orange and blue, it is what we do. Thank you for joining us, whether you are watching live or on the replay. We appreciate you hanging out with us, even for just a few minutes, just to see what we had to say about what we're talking about within all of the Auburn stuff out there to discuss. On today's live stream, probably going to be a little bit of a shorter one. If you can't tell, we got on here a little bit late too. Technical difficulties and all that. I will not be able to do call-ins tonight. I had anticipated to do that too, working through some technical issues over here. But on this live stream, we're going to discuss the Auburn versus Akron game in detail. We're going to break it down. I really want to hear what you have to say because, listen, you can talk, listen to anybody, read anybody's stuff about us. I want to hear what you have to say. That's what these live streams are about Auburn versus Akron. Obviously, I'm going to share a few of my opinions as well, but I want to hear from you. So that's what's on the table today. We're going to try to keep it focused mainly on Auburn versus Akron. I know everybody is itching to get to the next game. We'll probably do that on our next live stream, which should be Wednesday night, where we talk about Alabama State. So right now, we're going to focus on what we saw, what we're feeling after the Auburn versus Akron game. A couple of things before we get started. If you haven't, please do smash that like button to help out this type of content. If you enjoy it, it does help other Auburn fans find us out there. And we're growing at a very, rapid rate just because of all of you guys by smashing that like button, sharing, subscribing, all that good stuff. And we'll share some more about ways that you can help support the content that we do here, such as what's pinned at the top of the chat window right now. But you just being here is what we love to see. All right, so fire away. Comments, questions, derogatory rebuttal. What say you about the Auburn versus Akron game? And as you come into the stream, please do make sure you post where you're watching from with a War Eagle. Love to know who's here hanging out tonight. Execution was solid. Yeah, I think that was probably, honestly, I'll throw that back up there too. If I had to put wow, actually, that's kind of a loaded word considering what happened with the Notre Dame coach. Hope everybody understands the context was I'm using execution. Execution was solid all the way around for Auburn. One minor mishap, I would say, personally, which was the missed extra point. Other than that, this is probably the most complete game that Auburn has put together in quite some time, where A to B, or actually A to B to C to however many ways you want to take that out, really looks solid across the board. I find few flaws, and I know that Coach Harsin would disagree. In fact, he's already said so on his reviews and things like that, with too many things that I'm upset about. What about you guys? Is there anything other than the mixed extra point that you walk away from? And keep in mind, this is game one, just game one. There's plenty to work on, plenty of season left. So don't, if you're worried about so-and-so's, route running was terrible, just give them, this year. But was there any glaring mistakes for this type of game that you would see? Miller's calling in from or watching from Huntsville. Good to see you. Ground floor says War Eagle. Let's see. Looking really prepared. Watching from Clinton. Good to see you. Yes, Clint and I got to surprisingly spend time together at the game, which was obviously not a Clint knows why, but not a great thing for him. But happy that I got to see him in Autumn and hang out at the game a little bit and watch from the lower bowl for a little bit. Although I will tell you, I am shocked with the more that I do upper deck seats, the more I love it. I really do. It's beautiful up there. It's at sunset. You can see the entire field. I think our stands are situated in such a way where you can just see, perfectly down. It's not like LSU where you're literally like that and you're or Tennessee where you're going to fall over. But yeah. Tyler, what's going on, man? Says Bo Nix looks solid. The best he's looked since joining the team. Harsin already hard at work. Yeah, so, I think we can break that down a couple of different ways, and we'll get to that in just a second. 60-10, yes. Interesting note there. Clint said, Clint, post what you said about that score, because if you don't remember, he's the Auburn uniform guy, and I've given him the name of I forget what was it. Clint, help me. It was something about the Auburn tradition czar or something like that. I gave you some weird title, but he's good at picking out these little nuances of Auburn traditions and Auburn history and stuff like that. And there was something that you said about this particular score that had never happened before. So post that if you can. We look like a new football team, disciplined, focused, relentless in pursuit to the ball, excited. If you're a coach, you see everything, even the smallest things. I would hope so, right? Yeah, and that's kind of what you're paid to do. This is a great comment, maybe to kind of address real quick, because I know we won't spend a lot of time on this. I'm concerned about Finley's performance against a lower caliber team. Initially, I understand your concern. I think you also have to account for the fact that he's playing in, unfortunately, garbage time, and he's playing with the second and third team. So there is a certain drop off from that. So if you're going to evaluate him on that level, you need to evaluate all the 2s and 3s at that point too. Offensive line to defensive line, everything across the board, you know. I personally see very few glaring things about TJ Finley that I wasn't already anticipating. And I'm not saying that this is where Wade was coming from, but there's a lot of people that had already convinced their minds that TJ Finley was the second coming of Cam Newton, and that TJ Finley was only not getting the job because of reason A and reason B that we're not going to get into, that are just ludicrous to even bring up, and why Bo Nix was the choice. Bo Nix was always the choice. He was always the better quarterback at this moment. That's the operative phrase there that you need to move. And he proved it, albeit against the lesser team, but he proved it very well. So I'm not too worried about his performance. Let's give him more time to figure things out. Looked good. Defense was very vanilla, which will be the case this week. Mason will keep certain packages close to the vest and unleash the defense in Happy Valley. I hope so. I will tell you that based off our performance this week and Penn State's performance this week, I am feeling a lot more confident about that. And remember my initial prediction, I said we lose in Happy Valley, but it was really like a push situation where I said, you know, I say like a tie, I can't make up my mind. And in a push situation, tie goes to the runner or tie goes to the home team. So that's kind of where I've been at there. I think I saw enough out of Auburn initially to give them the slightest of edge, even on the road at Penn State. Penn State. There it is. Clint said 60-10 is an Auburn scoreagami. The score has never happened in Auburn football history. See, this is why y'all need to follow Clint on Twitter, Instagram. I think you're on Facebook. I can't remember. And follow the Auburn Uniform Database. Yes, he's all about the Auburn uniforms. This is the type of stuff you get from this guy. That's why we have him here so often. Yes. Only 5 attempts in mop-up duty. I mean, he really, so if you take that, you take the 5 attempts that he had, that is not a good enough attempts to make a strong evaluation with the second team in garbage time. I mean, it really, that's exactly what I was anticipating was going to happen. He's going to come in, the game was in hand, and look okay to lackluster, depending on how the rest of the team was performing. Larry says the best first game performance in a long time. Now, it depends, Larry, on what you say, like when you say what's the best first game. Because to me, Coach Malzahn's very first game was very exciting. Went down to the wire with Washington State. Of course, that was the MO with Coach Malzahn. But you know, it depends on what if you wanted, go out there, put it away, and then just sit back and chat with your friends. This was the type of game for you. I mean, it was exciting. It was pumped up at the very beginning. Midway through the second quarter, basically everybody was checked out, but in a good way. I don't mean that like everybody was bored and stuff like that. It's just, and there's a lot of Auburn fans, including me, that was sitting there the other day. I was like, what is this? How are we even like in control? Like, it's just a weird feeling. Is it weird that I kind of miss it? Let's see here. Let's see. I think using the I formation was something really refreshing for everyone to see. I'm probably reading way too much into Coach Harsin using that. I mean, he's a multiple offense type of guy, so he's going to use whatever suits him best. And when you've got what seems to be a very improved offensive line based off game one, I'll talk more about that in just a second, because you guys, especially a lot of you who've been here for a long, long time, know how critical I have been. And I hope it's been constructive criticism. I always try to be that way. But constructive criticism about the offensive line, I need to give them their due because they did have it. So we'll get there in just a second. But I wonder if the I formation wasn't just thrown in there as a love letter to Auburn, traditional Auburn fans and stuff like that. Because it's like if you pulled out the wishbone in a certain time period again, people would be like, oh, that's awesome, but then they'd probably hate it again. Everything has its place in that position, in that point of the game. Just use what you got, Tank Bigsby. Go get that touchdown. And Imani, you appear to be right. Based off game 1, Auburn will win the national championship. Probably not. But hey, that prediction looks very good after week 1. Let's see. Backing it up. Excuse me. I'm with you. I feel a lot better about Penn State. Think our defense will clamp down and Nix will make enough plays to give Tank room to run. How did everybody feel about, I know somebody said they felt like the defense was vanilla. Was there something lacking that the defense did that you felt like should have been a little bit better? It felt like, I have the stats pulled up right here. Irons, the quarterback for Akron, got 13 for 13. Wow. 129 yards and 1 touchdown. Listen, I really do think whoever said it a second ago, this was a very vanilla defense. Get out there, get the job done. No extra sets, things like that. They were really relying, personally, I feel like, just going barreling straight ahead with that defensive line who was just chomping at the bit to make a statement, and they made one. Stan, what's going on? War Eagle from Sanford, Florida. Favorite thing was the play, was the calls. The trickery was amazing. Hey, you had trickery with Coach Malzahn, so you should be used to that by now. But I can only think of one trick play. Was it the reverse to not to Demetrius Robinson? Yeah, it was Demetrius Robinson. Was there another one? Somebody post that in there if you can remember that one. Let's see. I would say that this is Auburn's best play for check game in a while. Gotcha. So saying that the teams that were paid to come here and just for us to get a win. I've been to some pretty boring Alabama A&M games in the last decade. I don't know that I officially agree with that, James, but it did feel complete. I would say that it's the most complete game in quite some time. I would say that before anything else. Tight ends must love the play calling. Did anybody feel like tight ends weren't used as much as they should have been? I mean, I know, let me pull this up, because it was really just John Samuel Shanker, right? Going back to the stat box here. Let's see. John Samuel Shanker with 5 catches, 38 yards, 7.6 per catch. Oops, that is loud. Excuse me. And I don't see another. Yeah, I don't see another tight end on there. Yeah, I think what you saw a lot in this game, Stan, was Coach Harsin recognizing what Bo needed the most in the world was to get off on a good foot, and was to give confidence to himself, give confidence to the offensive line, him to them to him, that he could get off quick passes and be accurate and stuff like that. You saw very simplistic things which utilize the tight end a lot, personally, in my opinion. 5 catches, I don't know if that's a lot. We've seen John Samuel Shanker do that before in previous seasons, but maybe. Most complete, yes, I would say is probably the best way to say that there. Russell, sorry, Kyle, I was off my prediction, 55-10. I'll try harder next time. Hey, you were probably the closest one. I said 38-13. That's just me learning to be cautiously optimistic these days. So, it's just something I do for my own protection. We'll throw out predictions on Wednesday when we break down the Alabama State game. Tyler says, I felt like the defense was great. Linebackers are fast. The D-line looked powerful and faster than they have in years past. So let me bring up what Tyler said there and kind of make a larger point. We're not going to make fun of you if you're in this crowd. But there's a large contingent of Auburn fans that wanted to wave the banner. It was just Akron. It was just Akron. Where do you fall on that scale? Because I recognize this was a very bad football team, personally. I also recognize that this is a much improved Auburn football team. The question is, what is more like the bigger component to this game? How bad Akron was or how good Auburn had gotten? I don't know that we have enough information to make that assumption yet, and you're not going to get it at Alabama State, I don't think. But to those that are saying it's just Akron, I'm not even going to go into the list of reasons that's stupid. But this is just, it is one of those things where you're just looking for things to be upset about. I'm sorry. I told you I wasn't going to pick on you, and I did. If there's anybody in that camp here, I'm sorry. I did it anyway. Just be happy with the win is all I'll say on that one. 65-3, probably even closer there. Also have noticed how Harsin's go-to word is solid. I counted during no doubt. And now we've got solid. So, hey, everybody got their catchphrases. Let's back it up here. You guys are getting some good comments in tonight. I'm having to kind of keep up with everything. I believe TD Moultrie will be an All-American at the end of the season, and I love when. Okay, I'm not understanding that last part, but yes, I think TD Moultrie has the potential to be there. I think there's a lot of players that have the potential to do that type of performance worthy of being on this list at the end of the season. I think Derek Hall is showing that he is just a force to be reckoned with. Marcus Harris looks pretty good for a new guy transferring in. I found very few things to be upset with on defense, albeit in and I agree with that statement earlier, a very vanilla defense. What's going on, Sam? Good to see you. Wasn't he a tight end coach at Boise State? That's a good question, Clint. Anybody want to look that up for us? Somebody who's got access to the internets more than me, because I'm trying to keep all my little things organized here. I wouldn't be shocked. I feel like every coach has a stint at tight end coach before they get going. Special teams are tight end. So I know he spent a lot of time as a quarterback coach and an offensive coordinator. My prediction was 60-10, so I went, you did not predict that. Wade says we didn't play down to their level. That's a great point there. I think that is a very good thing. I think it's the Auburn way, and it doesn't matter who the coach is. Over the past couple of 2 or 3, 4 decades, Auburn has had a tendency at times to play down to the competition level, and usually still winning, but making it a lot closer. There is something to say about having mercy on your opponent. But I think in this game, it was very important for Coach Harsin to display a complete culture change, and that's why you saw that. He didn't let off the gas. And honestly, he probably should have, because Akron was struggling. What's going on, Doug? By the way, if I haven't said hello and thank you to any of our other channel members, but I want to give a shout out to Doug as a channel member. Thank you, sir. You can be a channel member too by checking out that link in the top of the chat window or in the description, or you can just hit the join button. I think it should be listed below you if you're watching on YouTube right now. You can join there. $1 a month's all it takes. It helps produce this type of content, and it's much appreciated. He first full-time coaching job was tight end coach. I'm not shocked by that in the least, Doug. I mean, I feel like every coach is there at that point. Oh, I see. I did not. Unfortunately, I had a pretty hectic day. Surprising. This is why we didn't even get this thing posted until right before we were supposed to go live. I wanted to sit down and do the press conference and maybe even do a breakdown for you guys, but today was just crazy. Surprised I'm still standing up right now, how crazy it was. Let's see here. Getting way behind over here. Joe's also here as a channel member. Good to see you, Joe. Thank you, sir. It was really funny when Peppo slapped Walker really hard to slide over and it caused the false start. It shows you how powerful Peppo is. But, even besides the funny aspect of it, I like a field general like that. And whether you make the case that Smoke Monday or Owen Papo is that leader on the defense, I don't think you can make a wrong statement otherwise. They're probably the leaders together. I would argue it's probably Papo because of what he's seeing on the front. And Smoke is kind of like the 1B, kind of cleaning up behind him and stuff like that, getting his boys in order. And he was very not critical of his unit, but he was high praise of the other defensive units, the linebackers, defensive line, and just said, we got some things that we need to clean up. And again, let me go back to the stats here. They had 120 something yards, I think is what it was, 110 yards total. Well, they had two quarterbacks, David Irons, DJ Irons, not David Irons. We had a David Irons, but Cato Nelson, 9 for 14. Obviously DJ did a lot better for them. I don't really see anything to be too upset with there. It was a very vanilla defense. Here's my take on it. It was just Akron. Bo hit 18 of 20. That's hard to do in the backyard with your friends. And I think there was a moment, Stan, where I looked up and I said, has Bo missed a completion yet? And then he did. And I was like, crap. That's on me. It's on me, guys. I'm sorry. I mean, can we all just take a step back and say, I know that a lot of you out there were, and I was too, on some level, critical of Bo Nix. Has he won your respect back if he hasn't? I mean, I think the guy has shown it's one game, and it is Akron, not just Akron, but it is Akron. Still a lot more to figure out. Still a lot more tougher competition to prove it against. I think he should have earned your respect. He has put in the work, the time to be QB number 1. He is the guy. And he showed that he's not only capable, but he's also talented again. And we kind of knew that. So I hope this quelled some of the uncertainty about Bo Nix, about him being the best option for us. Now, also, that doesn't mean that doesn't change, right? Bo could slip back into those bad habits. He is the best guy right now. That should be the case. Cam Newton was the best guy for us until someone proved them otherwise. Don't think that's going to happen over here. James, what's going on? I said hello to you, but he just became a YouTube member. I wish I had confetti and stuff to do right here, but thank you, James. Thank you so much, sir. You are a true legend for being part of that. Thank you. Let me back up here. See what we got here. I think Moultrie was defeated and beat down with the last F. He seemed rejuvenated and very pumped up, happy with him. I don't know if about that, Jack, but like you might have a better insight to that. But I think whenever you have new blood, a new regime change, it kind of inserts a little of extra into it. Now you can make the case for some of these other teams that insert new coaches, and I mean, look at South Carolina. I think they put up one of the best offensive showings along with us, of the first week, and everybody's written them off for the season still. Like, I think that there's some of that stuff that actually happens naturally because it's something new, it's something fresh, it's something different. And it doesn't take it away that it's made a difference for him. But I think TD's got all the talent and the tools in the world to be as great a talent as he wants to be. And his staff has obviously given him a little bit of life that maybe he was missing. Let's see here. Has your opinion changed about wins and losses, or is it too early? I said earlier, I don't know if you were here, that I have moved from a push situation, which favors the home team, Penn State, to a slight lead to Auburn. So that would bump me up into a 9 to wow, I'm having a brain fart here. 9-3 season. So we are way behind in chat here. I'm sorry, guys. You guys are doing some great things today. It looks like you got the information, James. Thank you so much. The last time Auburn played Alabama State, Auburn won 63-9. Probably be the same. We'll talk more about that in a little bit. I love when we were on the goal line and we went under center instead of in shotgun. I think personally you'll still see the shotgun at the goal line if it's the right situation. It really is dependent upon the tools that you have in place and the situation. You can't just say that the offensive, I formation is the best thing at the goal line. That is not always the case. Alabama, I think it was 2 seasons ago, maybe proved that down in LSU. Remember that, right? Where they stuffed LSU at the line 4 straight times in a row at the 1 yard line out of the I formation. You got to go with what makes the most sense at the time, whether that's I, shotgun, but it was a little bit refreshing. Sam says, since I live half an hour away from Auburn, I might go to the game this weekend. So Sam, I will use this opportunity to give you guys a little bit of a heads up for me. Unfortunately, I have had a schedule change this weekend, and I will not be on campus. And that is very disappointing to me because we had such a great time sharing all of the stuff that we were seeing, on campus and sharing our experiences and doing the live streams and stuff like that. So unfortunately, that will not be happening this weekend, but we'll be back, barring other unforeseen circumstances, at Georgia State to do that because we'll be at Penn State the next week. But hope you have a great time. There was 1 drop, so we should have been 21 to 22. There were 2 drops from what I understand. The stats that I'm looking at, I'm not seeing where there's only 1. Not a huge sample, but Bo outperformed TJ by a wide margin. Bo looks much improved, some foresaw. I would say that given if TJ had more reps throwing the ball, which he had the opportunity to, Coach Harsin chose not to. I think Coach Harsin, and this is me trying to insert myself into the mind of the head coach, so please forgive me if I'm wrong. If you have a quarterback who's been in a unspoken quarterback battle, and he comes out there and does what he does in the first half to that first drive, let's say, I think it would be the biggest killer for momentum in the world for him and confidence to have the other guy come out and get just as many opportunities. Now, I know that sounds a little weird because I was even saying I would like TJ Finley to get as many opportunities to throw. I think Bo showed so much poise and moxie because of the support he got by his offensive line that it's kind of one of those situations where you want TJ to go out there and get some reps, but you want Bo to feel comfortable. Because if he starts feeling a little bit uncomfortable after he goes out and did what he did, you don't know what his mindset's like. Could be a little bit of a problem. I don't know. That's just me just kind of spitballing here. DCU Bayou Bengal. How's them LSU Tigers feeling, buddy? We're not going to pick on you too bad, but we are losing to Auburn 45-14. I think you are losing this year. I don't know if it's going to be that bad, but boy, UCLA. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say there. Saw today. I saw that as well. Ed Orgeron compared to Gene Chizik. We'll see. I think if he gets fired, then the comparison's completely relevant. If he makes it through the season, which I am not a fan of any. I would not be a fan personally in concept alone. In fandom, yes, of Nick Saban getting fired after a championship and then 2 bad seasons. I'm not a fan of the whole transition. You guys know this that have been here long enough, know that about me. I'm not a transition guy. And I still maintain that I was not in favor of the transition this year. However, game 1, I'm pretty happy. So I would say I hope Ed Orgeron stays around for a little bit. Stan, or Calvinist Auburn fan, became a YouTube member as well. Thank you, sir. 2 new members in the live stream. You guys rock. Thank you so much. Yes, that is going to be the game of the week. Penn State, it's a good one. Oh, the LSU fan says Coach O needs to go. All right. What else do you guys think about this game? I know that we haven't broke down a lot. Hope to see Tennyson back and see Drayshawn Miller this week. I think you'll see a lot more new faces this week. Here's the question for everybody. And I was having this debate with Clint, I think, if he's still here in the chat window. Do you even chance playing Demetrius Davis. Here's why. Demetrius Davis has, I think, 5 games until he loses his eligibility, like his red shirt for the year. Do you waste him on a game like this where you don't need him, but you do want him to have some reps? Or do you save him to the end of the year and get his reps? Because heaven forbid, Bo Nix goes down. Heaven forbid, TJ Finley goes down. You know, he could come in just like Tua did, not burn his season, and still have a long tenure here at Auburn. I don't know. I'm just spitballing. I would personally like to see them not play Demetrius right now, just me, and stick with TJ and Bo for the time being. Let's see here. Davis playing should be up to him and the coaching staff. And that's a great point, Thomas. I mean, I'm sure they're having those conversations about him. I think there's a reason you didn't see him in this game. Many reasons, but yeah. TJ is extremely talented, but Bo knows the offense and has more experience. The ball coming off TJ's hand is impressive. Strongest arm in AU history. Cam, I was about to say Cam first. Yeah, he's got a nice little zip on there. Although Bo gets some zip on that ball, and it's incredible. I don't know if you guys watched the video that I put out, the top 5 plays, and broke it down. Go check that out if you haven't. I enjoyed doing that. So if you guys enjoy that type of content, we might do that on a regular basis during football season. But, and this, I'll just give you like a spoiler to that video. My number 1 was Bo's throw to Kobe Hudson, because it was such a multifaceted good thing, because you had Bo stand in the pocket and deliver a strike in the middle of the field into the end zone in traffic. You had the offensive line provide excellent protection. You had what I would consider Kobe Hudson, who's kind of fallen away in maybe depth and playing time, make a strong play. And let me go back to a little bit more about that throw for Bo. Most people, when they look at that, they see that it was short, and they're like, well, he just, the wide receiver had to go make a play on it. You're right. He did, and it was by design. Because if that ball is thrown any stronger and higher, it goes over, and potentially the back safety picks it off coming across. If it's thrown any harder and lower, it goes potentially undercut by the other safety or cornerback, whichever one was there. And then the presence of mind of Bo to make that type of throw in traffic over the middle into the end zone and puts it where only his player can go up and make a play for it is brilliant. That's why it was such a good play. I say you play him at least the second team to see how he performs for all the reasons you said about possible injuries. I think you should play him at some point this season. I would wait as long as possible. I'd like to see what he does against Ole Miss and Mississippi State. So South Carolina. I personally, in a perfect world, would like to see Demetrius Davis play in 5 games. Well, I like to see him play on the road at South Carolina. I'd like to see him play on the road at Arkansas. I'd like to see him play at home against, my mind is blanking, Ole Miss, Mississippi State. You pick the 5th game, and then he doesn't burn his red shirt. Hope they play to discourage transferring. I get the struggle there, Russell. I really do. I understand that there's this fear that we're going to lose them if they go. That's just the nature of college football, though. Here's the trajectory I see, though, potentially. I think this is Bo Nix's last year, and I think that's why he's part of the reason he's playing so well. I think Bo goes and has a great year and goes and gets drafted, probably in the low rounds, but gets drafted. He's engaged. He's going to be getting married and ready to start the next part of his life. Excuse me. TJ Finley steps up into the lead. He'll be a junior at that point, I believe, which gives 2 years for Demetrius to play behind. And so essentially you've got a situation where at their junior year, you've got TJ coming in and start taking the offense as a junior. After 2 years, you've got Demetrius doing that, and then Holden Grenier, I think is his name. You're setting yourself for a lot of success and continuity-wise at quarterback. I don't know that I'm super worried about that at the time being. I think TJ has seen the writing on the wall and understands he's got to ride this year out, and he will probably be the starter at the end of it. Maybe. We'll see. Better footwork, hand placement, head on swivel from the O-line. And let me, I hope that I have said this, and because I want to be consistent here, because you guys all know how critical, hopefully constructively critical, I have been of this offensive line. Outstanding. It is against an inferior opponent, but they did an outstanding job. The offensive line should not be noticed. I know that sucks, but they should not be noticed. And I can't think of one thing that I found a problem with. And that is the biggest win probably for me. Now, you won't get a good sense of if that's just the first game and this opponent next week either. Well, a lot of these feelings and questions we still have are going to be answered at Penn State. And then they'll be really answered at LSU and Georgia. So you better enjoy these easy wins while they're coming, but it's going to get a little tougher. You're praying that Penn State beat Wisconsin. Yeah, there's always something good to be in the first loss for somebody. Nick Marshall did have problems overthrowing the ball. That might be the guy who had the strongest arm. Let me just say that. And the most underrated quarterback in Auburn history. Eagle Claws, what are you rolling your eyes for? What's the eye rolls for? Let's expound upon that, my friend. I think 4 games is the max to redshirt. I think you could be right, Russell. I just spitting off at the mouth here. Say, what's going on, War Report? By the way, we usually go live before War Report on Wednesday nights, so I like to send y'all over there. So when I say War Report, this is who I'm talking about. So go over there and check out their channel too if you haven't already. Thanks for being here, guys. We're just breaking down the game. All right, listen, let me just roll through a couple like stats and stuff. Anything sticks out to you. Again, we're keeping most of our conversation on this. Bo Nix, 20 for 22, 275 yards, 12.5 per throw, 3 touchdowns, a QBR of 96.6. Really good. Somebody made a graph of first week performances, and Bo's like at the top. Of course, Bryce Young in Alabama is way up there too, but in a different like way. This little chart graph is like Bo's up there. A lot of people are saying, stop the count. Stop the count. And I agree with that. We're number 1 in total yards and all that stuff right now. It looks really good in week 1. Only O-line issue I had is getting stopped on 4th and 1 with our starters against their stars. We should have gotten that 1 yard splitting hairs. I don't know that it's splitting hairs because I agree with you. That's a team that you should take that on. And I think Coach Friend and his staff will take that to the guys this week and say, this can't happen against this team. If you can't do it against this team, how are you going to be able to do it against Alabama, against Georgia, against LSU? Because even though they're struggling, it's still LSU. And they have good talent there. So there's that. Tank Bigsby, 13 carries for 119 yards. I mean, other than that, Tank is a beast. There's really... Is it wrong for me to say this was a somewhat pedestrian game for him? Because that's how good he is. Got his yards, got him out of there. Jarquez Hunter looked outstanding. Bo had a couple of good runs as well, showing that he's still going to be utilized in that fashion. Sean Shivers, only 2 attempts running, but he also had a couple of catches coming out of the backfield. 1, but it was a big one. And this is the crucial thing here. Sean's role on this team is not the primary guy at running back, but he can be used in so many different ways. Get him an open field and look what he does. The guy seeks out contact. I love the guy. I literally, every time I see the man, I'm overcome with the urge to just go and hug him. I really am. Like, I love me some Sean Shivers. He is quickly taking the spot of my favorite player on the team, if he hasn't already. Casey, good to see you. Thanks for coming into the chat. A couple more stats here. We're kind of rounding out our time, but we still got a few more minutes. Oh, wide receivers. Everybody got a catch, basically, including tight ends. Well, one tight end, but can I just tell you, Bo had a great game. Tank had a great game. The defensive lineman had a great game. Shed Jackson. God, if I was the Grinch, my heart would have grown 5 sizes that day. Dude's been injury plagued. Hasn't been able to really get some consistency going. Had some problem with drops. Guy was reliable. Guy was solid. And boy, God, it was so good to see Shed have such a good game. Best receiver of the day, 5 receptions, 79 yards. No touchdowns, but solid. So Javaris got one. Kobe got one. Sean got one. Tank got a catch. Zevion Capers. Elijah Canyon's back. Everybody feel better about seeing him there? So there you go. That as well. Casey, why did Ingram not play? Probably because of time, basically. There's a lot of players to get worked in. Just wait for next week. You might see him. But Sean Jackson looks legit. Bo was smoother than a lot of us thought under center. That was nice to see. And I think that's Bo. Once we got into the rhythm of seeing him make completion after completion, it was kind of like we lost track of how good he was doing because it just became normal. And I think that's something that we've all expected of him and seen from him. And the fact that he did it out there was great. Shed Jackson is greater than George Pickens. This is the comment of the night. I know we all love recruiting. Some of us more than others. And I know it would have been great to keep George Pickens. I will take a Shed Jackson over a George Pickens any day of the week. A guy that's fought through it all. Senior here. Ready to go out with a statement. Shed Jackson over George Pickens. First time in a while, we've seen the receivers get open on almost every play. That's fair. Yep. We should play all 4 of the running backs. Everybody talking about how other running backs, but Sean Jackson looks strong. Well, there's 5 technically, but yes. You can only get so many rotated in, and you want to give them quality minutes. So Sean did a great job. Looks like a beast. So you've got essentially at running back off of this game, you've got Tank Bigsby, who's a beast and is kind of all around great. You've got a specialty type running back in Sean Shivers. You've got a kind of balanced guy in Jarquez Hunter, and you've got a power back in Sean Jackson. It's good stuff. Killa, Demetrius, or if you're asking what we think about why we didn't see him, the only thing that I can come up with is this was technically still a race between Bo and TJ, and Bo killed it. So there was really no need to bring him in. I don't see a need to bring Demetrius in right now. Later this season, yes, he needs to get some time. Use every bit of that game allotment, whether it's 4 or 5. He'll be there one day. I know it seems frustrating, and we're all excited to have him here and hope he stays here. I know some people are scared about transferring and all that stuff. Let's cross that bridge when we come to it. I don't know, it's my famous phrase my wife says. You might see them this weekend. I hope, honestly, Bo doesn't see much time after the first quarter. I know that he'll probably play into the second quarter a little bit too, but we'll see. If you had to round out how about this? Let's quick poll the room. You post it. If you had to wrap up game 1 in one word, what would it be? Game 1, one word. What would it be? By the way, I want to give you guys, again, a shout out for those of you, not only our current channel members, but those that joined in this stream. We've got Stan, or the Calvinist Auburn fan, and James Barnett. You can sign up too in the top of the chat window, description link, or hit the join button on the main page. I think it might even be down there below right now too. $1 a month is all it takes. You can help support our content here. This is my new job. I'm doing this type of stuff for you guys on a full-time basis now. So if you enjoy it, please do help support it. But your support, just being here, is honestly the biggest thing, and I really appreciate that. Passing, complete, solid. Everybody's going to be dropping solids everywhere. Execution, ooh, that word is not fun after the Notre Dame incident. Relief. It's fair. I think relief's a fair word for that. I do. I think there was a large amount of the fans that didn't want to be wrong about Coach Harsin. To see it go out there and produce was probably a relief. Sensational, yes. Good one there. Refreshing. It's a good one. No, I know that was, you're just laughing, but productive. Good one as well. All good words. Let's keep the quick polls going. I like this type of stuff. Player of the game for you. Player of the game for you. Post them right now. I waffle back and forth on this one for me. I think you can make a case for Bo. I think you can make a case for Jarquez. I think you can make a case for Shed. I think you can make a case for a lot of players. But what say you? Best player of the game. We got some Bows already. TD Moultrie, Jarquez, another Bow. TD could be a good one as well. Yep. I think we'll have better games with the defense when they're having to produce more. So there'll probably be more of those things. Yes, Hunter was a good one. Samuel. I cannot, guys. Does anybody else struggle with this name? John Samuel Shanker. I have to slow down. John Samuel Shanker. Yeah, that was pretty good. That was not bad. He had a pretty decent game too. I don't know if it's worthy of player of the game, but for you, if that's what you like, then sure. Harsin named 8 players of the week. I'm curious if that's something he's going to do every week, because he had 2 defensive linemen, and if they're worthy of it, they're worthy of it. He gave a shout out to Marquise Burks. I think the reason we're not talking about the defense as much is because we saw so many guys getting reps, and I think it gets lost in translation just a little bit. Wade says Bo was the player of the game. Hunter was a pleasant surprise. So I think to maybe wrap up our conversation tonight, this was a solid game, full of execution, a relief, with Bo showing he can produce. A lot of questions maybe answered on what this team's going to look like, and against an inferior opponent, but the team looked very good when they should have. And we walk away looking very solid to wrap it all up there. Tank was 1A. That's a good one too. But yeah, that's how I'd wrap this one up. And I appreciate you guys being here tonight. Thank you so much. We had a lot of people check in and out, a lot of new faces, some channel members. Check that out if you're interested in doing that. If you also want to take it a step further, you can do this or the channel membership. There's the Booster Club, which is on patreon.com/E2C network. That's the same thing. It starts at $1 a month, but you get access to more things. It's over there. It supports this YouTube channel, but it also supports all our podcasts and everything at social media, everything that we do. So I really, I appreciate you guys just being here. I appreciate the channel members, Booster Club members. Thank you guys so much. Thank you. That's very kind words. And thank you for becoming a channel member. War Eagle, everybody. We'll be back this Wednesday, barring any unforeseen circumstances, and we'll break down Alabama State versus Auburn. Not that there will be much to break down.